Welcome back, everyone. For this month, we'll be checking out Tribes Vengeance. This first and third-person shooter was released on PC in 2004, published by Sierra Entertainment, but later became part of Vivendi Games, and developed by Irrational Games, the same studio that would later make SWAT 4, which I have a retrospective on. The studio would later go on to make BioShock and BioShock Infinite. The Tribes series started with the game Star Siege Tribes. I guess they decided to drop the Star Siege name because every game after was called Tribes 2, Tribes Aerial Assault, and Tribes Ascend. Star Siege Tribes and Tribes 2 were both multiplayer-only games developed by Dynamics. Then came Tribes Aerial Assault for the PlayStation 2, and was developed by Midway Studios Austin. It was the first game designed for online play and was the first online PlayStation 2 shooter. Then came Tribes Vengeance, which is the only game with a single-player story and is a prequel in the series. I also remember the chaotic fun in multiplayer, back when lots of players played. Now I only saw 2 servers and nobody was on them at the time. The final game, Tribes Ascend, was published and developed by Hi-rez Studios. You know, the studio that loves to copy trends, like League of Legends, PUBG, and Overwatch. I also remember playing quite a bit of this game, and I remember the speed you could build up was insane. From what I could find out why this game failed, some would say it's the microtransactions, while others say it was the devs, who wouldn't fix problems and just eventually gave up and worked on Smite. Barely anyone plays it today, which is a shame because these games are still unique and a lot of fun. I really think Tribes Vengeance could be remaster material. I love this gameplay of building up momentum and launch myself into the air, then use my limited energy from my jetpack to slow my descent or position myself to slide down a hill and fly across the map. It takes a while to get used to, and not to mention the awesome feeling of connecting a disc round on a moving enemy from afar. The good news is Hi-rez released the source codes to all the games, so they are available for free to download and play, so go check it out on myabandonedware.com. As usual, we're going to go through the story, so spoiler warning, what I liked and disliked, and any funny or awkward moments that happened to me during my playthrough. Let's go ski our way into this.
Man, he is spinning out of control.
Let's talk about gameplay. Throughout the single-player story, you'll be introduced to the different armors, weapons, and equipment. The game still plays a lot like the other games. You have light, medium, and heavy armor. Light moves faster and can jetpack quickly, but you have less health and ammo. It's the only class that can use the sniper rifle. Heavy armor has more health and can carry more ammo, and has more energy, but it takes longer to get flying. It's the only class that can use the mortar. Then there's medium armor, which is a happy middle ground, and it's the only class that can use the buckler shield. Most weapons use ammo, but some only use energy. Let's quickly go through them. We have the spin fuser, which is the most used weapon. It fires a single disc and just requires you to hit near your enemy to damage them. The chain gun is your average assault rifle. Keep in mind, the longer you shoot with it, the more inaccurate it becomes. So just remember to let go of the fire button and maybe just burst fire. You have the blaster, which is basically a shotgun, the grenade launcher, which serves as a smaller mortar for light and medium armors, the rocket pod is nice for aircraft and vehicles, the burner is great for slowly taking down enemies, the buckler is a shield that blocks some attacks and you can throw it at enemies. The sniper rifle uses both ammo and energy. The more energy you have stored up, the more damage it will do. The mortar is great for taking out groups of enemies from afar. And finally is the grapple, which can have its uses, but in the campaign it's used for specific situations, like when you don't have a jetpack, or don't touch the poisonous water. I know that sounded weird, but we'll get to that mission. This game has that classic gameplay of killing enemies will drop little health packs to keep you going. You can of course take their weapons and equipment. Equipment can be very useful in most situations. You have the energy pack, which passively restores energy faster, and gives you a speed boost in the direction you're facing when activated. The shield pack passively reduces damage you take by 25%, and when activated, reduces damage by 75%. The repair pack passively heals you, but it's very slow, and when activated, it'll heal nearby allies and equipment like turrets, stations, and vehicles. Finally, there's the speed pack, which passively makes you run faster, and when activated, lets you fire your weapon faster. There is some other equipment you can deploy, like turrets for defense, mines for blowing up players, repair stations for healing allies and equipment. Also, you can deploy an inventory station, which is mainly for restocking ammo to players, but they are able to switch weapons and equipment. There are some vehicles to use, like the fighter pod, a simple flying ship with mini rockets, The assault ship, which has a pilot and 2 gunner positions. The pilot can drop bombs. Then you have the rover, which is a fast-moving vehicle that can carry 6 players, 1 pilot, 1 gunner, and 4 passengers. It has its own inventory station on the back and can serve as a respawn point anywhere on the map. Finally, there's the tank, which has jump jets and a powerful cannon. Now let's talk about the backstory of this game, because they never explain anything and seem to just assume you already know the lore. But I didn't know the tribe's lore actually is part of the Metaltech universe that started back in 1994, which then became Earth Siege, then became Star Siege, which then became Tribes. I'll try my best to explain and summarize the lore, but go check out the YouTuber Max Lore. He has more in-depth videos about the Star Siege lore. So, in the future of 2471, a scientist named Solomon Peterson created the first cybrid, a bio-cybernetic hybrid named Prometheus. Thousands of cybrids are mass-produced to be slaves for humanity, which you can probably guess what happened years later. That's right, the cybrids rebel in 2602. In the video game Star Siege, long story short, humanity is able to drive the cybrids from Earth, but they only retreated to the moon. General Ambrose led a suicide squad to the moon to finish the cybrids off. It was believed they succeeded, but Prometheus survived the assault and fled into deep space. Solomon Peterson achieved immortality by basically swapping his brain from his old body into a new body. Solomon then proclaims himself Emperor of Mankind in 2652 and unified Earth, thus creating the first empire. He did everything he could to prepare for the next cybrid invasion and always fearing the cybrids would return. Then humanity discovered the Meta Jump Gate network, which led to many groups of humans settling across the galaxy. All these settlements would later coalesce into a tribe called the Children of the Phoenix. There's a lot of story about the Phoenix to explain, but I don't have time to go into detail. 15 years later, the Empire decides to send the Blood Eagles to go and eliminate the Phoenix tribe. During this conflict, the Phoenix tribe had some splintering. Therefore, more tribes formed, such as the Star Wolf and Diamond Sword. By this time, the Blood Eagles separated from the Empire and considered themselves their own independent tribe. 500 years later, there was a truce across all the tribes, and a sort of tournament was introduced for all the tribes to come together and compete to see who the best tribe was. Now is where we kind of get to Tribes Vengeance, but from what I read on the forums, fans of the Star Siege universe don't consider Tribes Vengeance to be canon because it changes too much and merely feels like a writer read a little bit about the Star Siege lore, then took those ideas and made a love story in the middle of it. Lastly, before we begin, I just want to mention the voice cast they got for this video game is impressive. Steve Blum was the most recognizable, who voices Jericho. If you don't know who Steve Blum is, I'm sure you've definitely heard his voice in other video games or anime.
She beds with you, and now she speaks for you. Is that it, Daniel?
When I looked up the rest of the cast, I was shocked to see actors like Tara Strong, who voices Julia.
This princess just won. Isn't that what counts?
And Nikki Futterman, who voices Esther.
We'll go with you. If you're onto something, you could be in danger.
Gabriel Olds, who voices Daniel, did some voices for Uncharted 4 and Dishonored, but also did the voice for this psychopath in Dead Rising.
You saw what she did and you feel nothing?
Overall, they do a great job, and some of the other voices sound familiar, and I think it's voices that were used in SWAT 4, probably developers. Alright, time to get on with the story. We start off with 2 characters standing in the rain. One looks injured and says,
She's made fools of all of us, Julia.
And gives Julia a half-broken disc.
What do you see, child?
And then suddenly we need to go back 20 years. So this is going to be one of those stories where the timeline is jumping back and forth between the past and the present, usually to try and misdirect and surprise you throughout the story. This kind of format may not be for everyone, but bear with me. We meet Emperor Tiberius asking General Albrecht where his daughter Victoria is. He says he sent for her an hour ago.
She will make a wonderful bride, Gaius.
If she ever shows up.
Victoria finally arrives, but she's upset because she's being forced to marry this guy, General Gaius.
Your marriage to General Gaius is of critical importance to the Empire.
Well, it's comforting to know I'm such a valuable commodity. Forgive me, but I'm suddenly not very hungry.
Olivia talks to Victoria and tries to teach her the importance of the Empire, how it's ruled for 12 generations and now it requires this marriage.
Tell Daddy he'll have his wedding.
We finally get to play, and the game will pop up with text to teach you the basics of the game. I will say this is a cool tutorial learning the game while trying to survive a surprise attack from the Phoenix tribe. Just follow the linear path and read the text. There might be some funny physics moments.
Princess, I'm here!
Get to the inventory station and get some medium armor and choose some of the weapons available. Make your way back and jetpack up. Continue on the path and you'll fight your first set of enemies. They're all in light armor, so they're easy to take out. Jetpack up here and use the refill station to get health and ammo. Continue following the path and take out more enemies. Always funny to watch the enemies die while jetpacking because their jetpack will continue to fly. Next room lets you use heavy armor, and you really feel like a juggernaut.
I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!
You'll need to fly up and drop down to continue on. Take out more Phoenix, then you'll need to switch back to medium armor to fit through the door. Next room you'll need to hold out until your sister Olivia can unlock the door. Just use the turret and take out enemies, then get through the door. You get to the escape pod, but they can't open the door. So you get to the observation room and you need to hit this switch, but the pod takes off. Then you get knocked out. Overall, it was a good tutorial to teach you the basics of the game. We get introduced to Daniel, who discovers their prisoner is Princess Victoria. The other soldier thinks they should just leave her to die, but
Nobody ever made $1 off a dead princess. She's coming with us.
Victoria wakes up on some planet, and Daniel says good morning. Victoria acts like a spoiled child, saying she's tired, dirty, and hungry.
And I'm apparently in the hands of some tribal dog.
There's plenty of food back at the base. But where is it, Princess? Now we'll see if a royal
Can run with the pack.
Yeah, that happens a few times with the dialogue. Daniel tells Victoria to follow the green lights. This mission is to get you familiar with jetpacking and skiing. First obstacle is to hit the button at the top and quickly ski to the bottom before the door closes. Keep following the path and you'll need to do it again, but this time it involves turns, so you need to careful ski and jetpack to get through the door at the end. Keep following the lights until you get to this open area and need to find all the checkpoints. Just follow your radar. While getting to the checkpoints, Victoria will keep saying bad things about the Phoenix, but Daniel makes a good point.
There are plenty of planets that allow tribesmen to immigrate.
name one.
But you always go and ruin it for yourselves. The Empire had no choice but to restrict you to certain planets. After all, as you yourself continue to prove, tribesmen are dirty, greedy, violent.
If you grew up in this place, how do you think you would have turned out?
Once you get all the checkpoints, move on to the next area where you'll encounter some creatures called Glorax. You can fight them with your knife, but you don't need to. Just get through the door. You'll pick up a weapon to use on the Glorax in the next area. Take them out and hit the switch to get to the end. Next area, you'll have a Phoenix soldier to follow. Just need to jetpack and ski to 3 outposts and hit a switch inside. You can also check your map with the C key. This was great for getting used to the jetpacking and skiing mechanics. Get to the last outpost and suddenly the outpost gets attacked. The Phoenix soldier is killed and it looks like Blood Eagle soldiers are here. As you fight them, we meet the Blood Eagle leader named Seti. Daniel says to get back to the first outpost and hide in the bunker. But before going down this hole, save the game. The reason I'm making a huge deal is because the next mission crashes a lot. Overall, this was a fun mission to let the player get more practice with jetpacking and skiing. Sometime later, Seti gets to the bunker and looks to have Victoria captured, but spends too much time thinking about who Victoria is and where he's seen her, but Daniel arrives just in time to scare off Seti. Daniel apologizes to Victoria, but she tries to slap him. However, Daniel blocks it and pushes her away.
I have a name.
I do too.
Victoria.
Daniel. Victoria, can I interest you in some lunch?
I thought you never asked, Daniel.
We then jump to the present day where it looks like the Blood Eagles and Imperials are competing in some kind of arena. The announcer says the Blood Eagles are up 8-2 and the Imperial captain, Princess Julia, is out on injury, when suddenly Princess Julia shows up and takes the Blood Eagle flag.
Can I play too?
Oh, it's Julia, the Princess of Pain herself! All right, she's moving down the field. She's taken out a heavy D and a chaser. And she scores! Princess Julia scores! Oh, baby!
This is probably one of my favorite missions, except the game crashes during these intro cutscenes or at the end of each round. I have no idea how to fix this problem except saving at the beginning of the round and a separate save at the end of the round. Most likely the best thing to do is skip these cutscenes with the announcers talking about each round to avoid the crash. So for the first round you need to capture all 4 territories. Just stand near it and wait for it to switch to your side. You have 7 minutes and 30 seconds to do this. Once all 4 are captured, the round is over. And now the next round is to defend for 7 minutes and 30 seconds. It is okay if they capture a territory, you can recapture it, but you need to have all 4 captured by the end of the round. Next round involves grabbing some fuel canisters scattered around the arena. You just need to bring them back to your depot to win. This one is easy because the enemy makes no attempt to capture any and bring back to their depot. Well, that's because they don't have a depot. Once again, you have the same timer, so get to it. Bring all the canisters back to win. Next round now involves you stealing the fuel from the enemy depot. You just need to stand under it to begin collecting the fuel. The longer you stay, the more fuel you'll pick up to a max of 15. Keep going back and forth until you steal all of it. Don't worry, once again, they won't make any effort to steal from your depot. However, some of the Blood Eagles switch to heavy armor, so you'll probably take a mortar strike to the face. The next round is a sudden death round, which means no more respawning, so you need to take out all the enemies. I find it funny, it's just Julia and she has to fight the entire Blood Eagle team. What happened to my team? There is a refill station in case you take too much damage. So far, all of these games are actual multiplayer game modes. So great thinking to the devs to try and implement these into the single player for the gamer to try out before jumping into multiplayer. Now we get to the tiebreaker round, where just the captains face off. The first time I fought him was actually a tough fight and almost died. But of course the game crashed, so I had to fight him again, but this time it looked like his AI broke, and I easily defeated him. Actually, it's because I got too close, so he took out his knife. Overall, when this mission is working, it's a lot of fun, and I remember replaying this mission so many times.
I don't know what he's doing. Yeah, spread those legs.
Julia then returns to the locker room while Olivia tells her she shouldn't have played because of some injuries and she's supposed to be an Imperial princess. While Julia thinks winning is all that matters, Olivia fears that with each loss it makes the tribals stronger. Julia then decides to go and taunt 2 Blood Eagles by threatening to shoot them with her spin fuser.
Fire that thing and you 1 dead princess.
1 dead princess, 2 dead tribals. I like the math.
Then Olivia mentions her mother let her emotions get the better of her and tells Julia not to make the same mistake. Julia says her mother was murdered by a tribal, which leads Olivia into telling her about a situation came up with the Phoenix tribe.
The same Phoenix tribe that
Killed my mother.
I was thinking it might be useful for you to lead a task force to check it out. You see, dear, Aunt Olivia is always thinking of you.
Julia arrives later with a strike team to attack the illegal Phoenix outpost with General Albrecht. So, first thing is a turret section. I mean, it's not that bad, but you guys know how much I dislike turret sections in video games. Take out all the enemies you see, but this one soldier had God mode on for some reason. Sometime later, Julia and a heavy Imperial soldier get dropped off. You just need to take out the soldiers and get close to the anti-air turrets. The heavy soldier will get close enough to take them out for you. Just go to the next 2 outposts and do the same thing. Then you make your way to the main base. There's lots of enemies, but at least you have an ally gunship for support. Take out all the enemies until the main doors are unlocked. Once inside, you need to access the Phoenix Data Archives. Now would be a good reminder about saving your game, because I almost made it to the end of the mission, but I died, and the last time I saved was at the start of this area. Not horrible, but still sucks to have to do everything all over again. It's just a reminder because there's no autosave. Head down and follow the linear path. You'll need to take out a generator, which was really fun, skiing and jetpacking back and forth, then continue on to take out more Phoenix soldiers. And then you fight a heavy Phoenix soldier. It feels like a boss fight, and I almost killed him, but he managed to kill me first. So I had to restart. Not too far back, but I had to kill some Phoenix soldiers again. This time I killed the heavy. Overall, a challenging mission that I still enjoyed.
Looks like there's no more tribals to kill.
Julia goes to the data room and looks at all the soldiers' faces until she discovers Jericho.
I found you, Jericho.
Now we jump back a few years when Julia was only a young girl. We see Victoria, but she seems distracted. Olivia comes in and Julia wants to play, but can't and needs to speak with Victoria.
What is it, Olivia?
Do you not even acknowledge the arrival of your own sister anymore?
Sorry, I was thinking.
Yes, you do a lot of that since Father died.
What is it?
Something's come up. You're needed in the briefing room.
Then Victoria drops a half disc, but not the same one from the beginning of the game. Julia picks it up. Now we play as young Julia. You hear some guards outside the door talking about communication systems were down, and now they're acting strange, when suddenly another surprise attack by the Phoenix tribe. You hear a soldier say, "Death to the traitor Victoria." Escape into the vents and you'll see Jericho.
Have you found her yet? Where is Victoria?
We'll find her.
Then you'll see Prince Gaius. Continue on and you'll run into Gaius, but then hear Julia say, "Father." However, he says, "Oh, it's you. Very well, follow me, but don't get in my way." The way he sounds makes it seem like he cares very little for Julia. They come across some Imperial soldiers who say they can't get to us due to the lockdown. We need to get across the room and override the controls, but Gaius dies in an explosion. You need to take cover when the Phoenix soldiers are shooting, but then the Imperials will lay down cover fire so you can advance. Hit the switch, but the soldiers get killed, so you need to keep moving. Watch more soldiers get taken out, and now you need to run by some turrets. As long as you keep moving, they can't hit you. Continue on and you'll see more Phoenix soldiers moving out to find Victoria. They really want her dead. More Imperial soldiers get taken out, but if you move across, hit this switch, then get to drive one of these fighters. It's a pretty fun flying vehicle. Sometimes hard to control in tight areas, but the mini rockets it fires felt great when taking out enemies. Keep an eye out for repair equipment to keep it at full health. Continue on following the linear path and you'll need to ditch the fighter. The soldier says we're safe now, but we know that's not true. Jump down to get the grappler from the guard. Luckily you have infinite ammo for this thing, but you'll get plenty of time to practice. You follow the civilian but run into Phoenix soldiers. He closes the door but it won't hold them back forever, so you need to grapple upward, get to the top, and head to the vent. Then get into a turret and take out some Phoenix soldiers. Once they're all dead, head through the doors to find a jetpack. Since Julia is tiny, she will fly very fast. Last area to worry about is these mines. The soldier tells Julia they are very bad. Fly past them and get through the door to win. Overall, I thought it was fun, but I felt like this could have served as a tutorial earlier in the game. We then get to a cutscene of Julia finding her mom, and Victoria spends this time apologizing for leaving her and making lots of mistakes. Julia tries to give her the disc she dropped, but Victoria says she doesn't need it anymore, then gets shot. Olivia runs over and grabs Julia only to watch her mother get gunned down by Jericho. Then we cut to Julia still at the Phoenix base. She asks Albrecht to get into contact with the governor of Styx prison.
It's a surprise party for an old friend.
We then jump back again to Victoria and Daniel arriving at a Phoenix reservation. Victoria doesn't believe it, but Daniel points to a sign showing it's an official Imperial reservation for them.
That's impossible. My father, he said that...
Then Jericho contacts Daniel and says a tripwire went off in the northern boundary. Daniel tells Victoria to stay while he goes and checks it out. After he leaves, Blood Eagles arrive and begin attacking the civilians. Victoria tries to hold them off, but Seti arrives. He takes the civilians and tells Victoria to tell Daniel to deliver the goods he stole from the Imperials, and he'll let the civilians live. Daniel radios Jericho and Esther about him reaching the Blood Eagle base. Jericho is worried if they attack, Seti will kill the civilians. Daniel says Seti will kill them no matter what they do, so they need to try something. Esther says he will need to capture the 4 sensor outposts surrounding the base. Then Daniel asks about Victoria and Esther says she went AWOL after debriefing. So now we get to play as Daniel. It's easy enough to capture the 4 sensor towers. Some have turrets, so take them out first and watch out for some heavies. Also watch out for the gunships, but Daniel has the rocket gun to take them out. Once you take all 4 sensors, you have a limited time to get to the back door. Overall, it may have been a short mission, but it was still fun and challenging to capture all 4 outposts while taking out lots of Blood Eagles. We then get a cutscene of Daniel running into Victoria. Not sure how she got into the base. This sounds familiar.
Lando told me where you were going.
Then how were you able to get on this secret base before me?
But she wants revenge for Seti attacking her. Daniel makes sure she knows this isn't about that. It's about getting his innocent tribesmen out of here. Victoria says she's ready to help.
All right, find the hostages and then report back to me. Do not try to save them yourself. I'll take out the generator. Once that's down, Jericho can bring in backup. First time I ever gave orders to an Imperial.
Don't get too used to it.
So we play as Victoria looking for the hostages. There's lots of enemies around, so carefully look for this switch, and Victoria discovers the base is salvaged Imperial technology, so her royal override code should help her hack into it. Keep searching and find more of these switches to unlock the doors. Seti makes a brief taunt to Victoria, but then Daniel asks how she's doing. She says the prison cells are right below her, so head down and you'll find them empty. Daniel says they must have been taken somewhere, otherwise there'd be bodies. Head further in, and she finds out they were moved to the main hall and are going to be executed. However, Daniel says he's trapped by a security lockdown and needs help. You have a minute to hurry back to the security room and release the lockdown. She tells Daniel about the prisoners, and he tells her it's too dangerous and needs to wait for backup. But she doesn't listen and heads there anyway. Continue on, take out enemies, get to the main hall, and find the hostages. One of them yells out to watch out. I turn around and my screen goes red. Dang it, Victoria, captured again. Overall, another fun, challenging, linear mission. We get a repeat of the cutscene from the last mission we saw. That's because now you play from Daniel's perspective. The conversations are the same, but now you get the idea where Victoria is at the same time Daniel is. However, he's also communicating with Jericho and Esther. Take out enemies and keep venturing forward. Hit this switch to get to the next area, where Daniel becomes trapped in a lockdown. He loses contact with Esther, so contacts Victoria for help. You just need to hold out for a minute while enemies come in from 3 doors. Daniel takes out the generator so Jericho can bring in reinforcements. Now you need to swim down here to advance forward. Eventually, Daniel makes it to the main hall and fights some Blood Eagle soldiers. Once they're dead, head over to the switch to end the mission. Overall, it was fun to see things from Daniel's side. Seti suddenly shows up and has a standoff with Daniel, but Jericho breaks through the roof and attacks Seti. He takes cover and then asks Victoria why she's sacrificing herself for these tribals. She says it's not about the Empire, it's about the people.
Yes, you Imperials are such humanitarians.
Seti then throws a grenade, and everything goes into slow motion.
Daniel!
Sometime later, Jericho is in denial about what they are about to do. Daniel can't believe after what Victoria did, Jericho doesn't feel anything about it. They're going to steal a Blood Eagle convoy full of Imperial medical supplies so they can save Victoria's life.
All this for her. Is it worth it?
Being Phoenix doesn't mean being born with brown eyes and no money. We do things not because we have to, but because we choose to.
They take out the driver, and somehow Jericho is able to fit into the passenger side. Esther lets Daniel know the two of them are going to need to get through lots of Blood Eagle checkpoints and barricades to get to their escape route through an underground tunnel. Jericho reminds you there's an inventory station in the back to repair the rover. This thing drives really fast and has boosters on it to go even faster. Not too much to say, it's very linear and you just hit this switch to open the door. I mainly just flew past all the enemies. When I get to the end, I hop out of the vehicle and I fly to the enemy in order to take them out faster and spawn camp them. I even started to land some direct hits with my spin fuser. Overall, it's a unique and fun mission to play.
Oh, sorry!
Daniel stays with Victoria and watches over her. Jericho comes by and asks how she's doing, then reminds Daniel he will be hung for kidnapping her when she returns to the Empire, but Daniel hopes she won't return.
You're living in a fantasy. You can't afford fantasy, Daniel, and neither can your tribe.
Victoria wakes up after having a nightmare. Daniel is asleep, so Victoria sneaks out. She says she must go because she wants to stay. Seems like she's able to sneak out, but Daniel suddenly catches up with her and points a gun at her, but decides to lower it and let her go. Then we cut to some sort of robot human looking thing that begins starting up. This mercenary is named Mercury, and has a disguised voice telling him his objective is to eliminate Daniel. However, first he needs to create some chaos throughout the base by capturing their resupply stations, turret defense system, and sensor system. So this feels like a stealth mission, which is kinda true, but once the enemy spots you, they know your exact position. The first area says they have a prototype weapon, but I'm not sure what it is. I thought it was the speed pack, but I didn't want it because having the energy pack was better for using the sniper. When you leave, Jericho tries to contact the squad, but no answer. It feels cool being this stealthy assassin and listening in in on everyone, slowly beginning to worry about the situation. Next outpost has snipers, and they can spot you from far away.
I see you, you son of a bitch!
You hit the switch to upload a virus so you can use their resupply stations. Now head over to the turret defense system and upload the virus there as well. Not too many enemies to deal with, but the mysterious person does mention Cybrid. Now you need to head to the sensor system, which is high up in the air. You'll need to use your energy equipment to get up there and upload the virus. Now you can see all enemies on your radar and map, plus now you get to listen in on all enemy communication. Make it to the base and take out the squad Jericho claims to be the best of the best. Easily take them out with a turret and make your way into the base. Next room has a bunch of snipers, but they're easy to take out.
Update, General. Has the intruder entered the engineering bay?
I'm not sure. Report, squad. Has the intruder been stopped? Nothing but static.
Next room requires you to hold out for a bit. Just man the turret and take out all enemies that come in. Esther then begins the evacuation. Continue taking out enemies and move forward and hit this switch to open the door to win the mission. Overall, this was a really fun mission to feel like a stealthy professional assassin like Sam Fisher or Agent 47, despite the gameplay staying the same. Mercury gets to the top of a tower and begins targeting Daniel, and just before he takes the shot, he sees Victoria walk up to Daniel. She asks why Daniel let her leave, but he sounds nervous and doesn't know what to say.
Dangerous here.
You are a tribal. I'm an imperial.
You came back to
princess.
tell me this?
You're a savage.
And you're a spoiled brat.
You're the enemy.
That's what they say. Victoria, it's not safe.
No, it's not.
Then Mercury gets a new message from the client to terminate the mission. Then we cut to the present day at Styx prison. We now get to play as Jericho, and he's trying to rescue Esther from the prison. He's of course in heavy armor, so first thing to do is capture the 3 outposts. Then go and assault the main prison to get inside. Now Jericho needs to head down into the mines to find Esther. You can explore around a little bit, but eventually you make it into this room and can set up turrets and mines for defense. Hold out until the door opens and continue on. Next area you need to get to the top and hit a switch, then head down again. You'll get to another room with more equipment, so get to it and hold off the enemy again. Then get to the final room and find Esther. She says it's a trap. Julia was using Esther to lure Jericho here. However, Jericho isn't worried, he's going to use a distraction long enough for Esther to get out. So find a spot and get to holding off the enemy. This was tough. So many enemies with all kinds of weapons. Do your best and use the launch pads on the ground to stay on the high ground. Hold out long enough till the timer runs out to finish the mission. Another fun and definitely challenging mission. We then cut to Julia confronting Jericho. He then puts his weapons down and says she looks like Victoria.
Don't you dare say my mother's name.
Olivia stops Julia from killing Jericho and takes Jericho into custody.
No! Aunt Olivia, don't take this from me. I must.
In a week, you will be queen. And then you execute this scum properly. But I will not allow you to taint the crown before it is yours.
No!
This is not what your mother would have wanted, child.
Then we cut to the Imperial Information Headquarters. But underground, we see Mercury infiltrating the compound. We now play as Mercury again, but it's unknown right away what his objective is. This is the mission with the toxic water, so don't touch it. Thus why you have the grappler. Make your way through the sewers, hit this button, and then fly through the green fan. Continue avoiding the water and taking out Imperials. Eventually you'll get inside the headquarters. Now fly up, take out these maintenance computer nodes to bypass the locking mechanism, because that's how systems work. Destroy a set of computers and doors will just magically open. Continue taking out more Imperials and more of these computer nodes to advance forward. The layout of some of these rooms are great. You can snipe from far away, or get up close with the shotgun. Eventually you get to the holding cells, and this poor heavy armored Imperial across the room can't reach me with his flamer gun. Head into the guard room and open the cell doors. The guard room will close and Jericho will approach the shield. So Mercury was sent here to kill Jericho, or at least to release him from Imperial custody as he said.
Julia's not an idiot, and she's nearby. You understand she will catch up with you, don't you?
Threatening me is unproductive. As I am not truly alive, I do not fear death.
Doesn't mean I won't enjoy watching you die.
You catch up to him outside and need to fight both Phoenix soldiers and Imperial guards. The Imperials seem to keep respawning, so watch yourself. Meanwhile, Jericho loves using his mortar, so keep sniping him from afar and dodging his mortar fire until he goes down. Overall, it's another fun and challenging mission, especially at the end. Jericho really puts up a fight. Jericho looks to be mortally wounded and Mercury walks up to finish him off.
You have done well, considering.
So I guess the Hybrids have returned, but of course he gets away. Jericho falls over and then he says he can see his brother in her eyes.
They were brown once, were they not? She's made fools of all of us, Julia. Take this. What do you see, child? What do you see? It belonged to your father.
We once again go back 20 years to Daniel and Victoria. She says she must go back because there's no way they could change things and the assassin was using Imperial equipment. At first they think the Imperials might have sent him to kill Daniel for kidnapping Victoria. However, she knows her father, and if he knew where she was, he would have sent a rescue team, not an assassin. They then hatched a plan to break into a Blood Eagle base and find proof about a conspiracy to generate friction between the Imperials and the Phoenix tribe. With this evidence, Victoria believes her father will listen. We play as Victoria, who gets control of a tank, and will take it into the tunnels underneath the base. Honestly, I hate this thing. It's tough to land the rocket shells and seems to easily take a lot of damage. Maybe I just suck at using this thing. Once inside the base, capture the control point. Daniel will now begin searching for the proof they need. Your job is to defend the generator, so I recommend putting up turrets and mines everywhere, including the repair equipment on the ground in the center to repair everything. I also prefer taking heavy armor because you will be fighting a lot of enemies. You should of course head outside and meet the enemy before they make it inside. Keep taking out all the waves of enemies until Daniel tells you to stop them from capturing the control point. Head back down there and stop them. Then head back up and continue defending the next set of enemies. Once you kill them all, Daniel will say they're trying to capture the point again. So head back down, again, then head back up. Now things get really tough. Daniel says he needs to retrieve a decryption routine from back home. In the four corners of the base are satellite dishes. You need to protect all four. If just one gets destroyed, you lose. So take the rocket gun because they're going to send 2 assault ships. Keep an eye out for heavies attacking with their mortar gun. Said he does send a tank, so do your best to quickly destroy it. I found firing my mortar then immediately swapping to the spin fuser to be a great way of taking it out quickly. Another tank does get sent out. I think you can repair the satellite dishes, but there's so many enemies you may not have time for that. Daniel gets the program, so now you don't need to defend the dishes anymore, just the generator. Daniel discovers his access is being blocked by some hackers. You can go fly an assault ship and use it to take out the 3 nearby generators. So go do that. Then come back and hold out one last time against everything SETI sends at you. He's going to send everything, a tank, an assault ship, and lots of light, medium, and heavy infantry. I actually lost the first time, so try your best to meet the enemy outside first and kill them before they get inside, otherwise they will just focus their fire on the generator. Hold out for 3 minutes and wait for the timer to end to finish the mission. Overall, I would say this is probably the hardest mission in Tribe's Vengeance. I still enjoyed it for the challenge, and it had me trying to stay on top of all my enemies and take them out quickly. Phoenix reinforcements arrive, including Jericho. They found proof that someone is profiting off the war between Imperials and the Phoenix, but Jericho still has hatred for the Empire.
I don't know what my brother sees when he looks at you, but all I see is the blood of my people.
Daniel tries to apologize for Jericho, but Victoria understands the situation. How their people have been at war with each other for hundreds of years. How will they be able to fix this?
In my tribe, every boy is given one of these when he is born. No 2 amulets break the same. Once they are split, the halves belong only to each other.
I think it's time you met my father.
We cut to Daniel waiting outside at the Imperial Palace. Victoria is excited because her father says he's willing to talk after seeing the proof they found at the Blood Eagle base. However, before Daniel can meet her father, he needs to do just one thing.
That's all? Okay. What do I have to do?
We cut to the Imperial Arena. Olivia thinks they should just execute them.
This is how things are done. I can't be handing out Imperial audiences to any tribal hoodlum who walks through the door. He was your kidnapper, Victoria.
And now he's my friend. He can be yours if you give him a chance.
You alright, boss?
We're all gonna die.
It's pretty simple, just survive each wave of enemies. You start off with a chain gun but hardly any ammo, so just use your knife on the Glorax. Next wave, your two buddies will jump in turrets, so just lead the Blood Eagles over to the turrets and let them take them out. Pick up equipment and weapons to have a better chance at the next wave. Keep surviving each set of waves and you'll get 2 more allies who will follow you around. You should pick up a rocket gun for the fighter wave because they really hurt. The final wave is an assault ship and tank. First I took a rocket to the face and then almost died to it at the very end. But I got lucky, I had just enough ammo. Overall, this was a fun, challenging mission. Victoria and Tiberius celebrate, but Olivia is not happy. The three have dinner and things seem to be going great. But Daniel gets a call from Jericho, then suddenly Daniel is angry and thinks all of this was fake. Suddenly he pulls a knife and takes his revenge by killing Tiberius. Then we cut sometime later with Olivia telling Victoria about how love blinds people, and now reality is making them pay the price.
If only you weren't a child. Where are you going?
To grow up.
Victoria begins searching for Daniel. The first set of enemies you'll come across are turrets. Keep following the linear path and head down these long drops. Either carefully fly down or do what I do and just fall and then use all your jetpack energy at the last second. It worked most of the time. You do run into Phoenix soldiers and they tell Victoria she will not pass. Continue on and the next area has you run into even more Phoenix soldiers.
Daniel sends you a message. Turn back.
Message to Daniel.
Next area has some snipers who are 100% accurate for some reason.
Man, you guys hurt.
Then the next area has lots of grenade launcher enemies from above, so it's best to jetpack up and take them out right away. Then this next area with shielded enemies carrying spin fusers and grenade launchers were really tough to defeat. Then the next area is wide open with little space to land on. This one you can skip and just get to the top. Daniel finally contacts Victoria, which was dumb of him because Olivia was able to track where it came from. Next area is climbing up, so grab that grappler and begin climbing. Now you can get to an open room and Daniel says he doesn't want to fight her, but Victoria wants revenge for her father. Daniel asks if this was some sort of plan for her to ascend to the throne. Before she could say something about her father, Daniel says he was a butcher and a betrayer. So something happened and Daniel thinks Tiberius was the one who ordered it. So now you must kill Daniel. He has lots of health, but I thought he was still pretty easy to kill. Overall, I like this one because whoever was in charge of the design did a great job coming up with fun, challenging situations with enemies.
Look at us, Princess. We're gonna change the world. Look how far we got.
Sometime later, Olivia shows up and talks to Victoria, but Victoria only says she's pregnant.
I see. Don't worry. Olivia will take care of everything.
Then sometime later, Jericho comes and says he will get revenge on Victoria very soon. Now we finally get caught up with the story. So Julia learns that the answers she seeks about who she is are with the Phoenix. So she goes to their homeworld and meets with Esther. This mission is unique. To find out the answers for Julia, you need to complete several trials. You can do any of them in any order, but you must complete all of them. The first one is the trial of finesse. You grab some medium armor and a buckler shield. You need to take out all the enemies with only a buckler shield. At first it's just one-on-one, but soon you need to fight 2 enemies at the same time.
Success. The true Phoenix needs only 1 weapon against 100 enemies.
Next one is the trial of speed. You grab light armor, a spin fuser, and an energy pack. You need to complete 6 laps in a short time. The most useful trick is using the spin fuser to gain speed.
Success. The true Phoenix can move faster than lightning when required.
Next one is the trial of dexterity. You have 3 goals scattered around. One circling around you, second one is under the water, and the third one is up high.
Excellent work. Force background has granted you superb dexterity. None have completed this trial as swiftly. What do you wish to know?
Who was my father?
He was the man who loved your mother.
That's not an answer.
Perhaps you should examine your questions.
Okay, lady, you're gonna play that game.
Next one is the Trial of Stamina. You take heavy armor and whatever weapons you like. Then place the equipment where you like. You need to defend the flag from all enemies. If they touch the flag, you lose.
Oh no! Come on, it was right at the end! You piece of ah! Snuck up on me.
This one was tough, so you really need to make sure you land your mortar attack on the light enemies and keep a close eye out for those medium soldiers, because they will surprise you and grab that flag unexpected.
Oh god!
Your ability to endure onslaught is without question. Your exceptional stamina has aided you in repelling more attackers than any other who has attempted this trial.
Was my father a tribal?
Yes. His name was Daniel.
Daniel? The one who killed my grandfather? Answer me.
Next one is the Trial of Adaptation. This one is easy. You have medium armor and some basic weapons. Just take out all the enemies in zero gravity.
You are wise to know you are not infallible. Your ability to adapt to circumstance has allowed you to best this trial in record time.
Esther then reveals that Daniel had found out that the Imperials launched a surprise attack raid on one of their reservations. Hundreds were murdered, so that's why Daniel took his revenge. Julia says it doesn't make any sense to go through all that. Esther thinks it's a simple matter of tribals kill Imperials and Imperials kill tribals. Next one is the Trial of Perception. You get light armor, a sniper, and a shotgun. The enemies come from 4 ways, but you'll at least know with the green light where the next enemy is coming. Protect the generator until the timer finishes to win.
Effective defense requires a knowledge of all things around you. Your perception has allowed you to keep your generator safe.
I wasn't sure about the shot, so I didn't take it.
The last trial is to fight Esther. You go to the equipment station and get some medium armor and only a buckler shield. Esther is carrying some extra weapons, which seems unfair, but you just need to time your attacks until she's defeated. Julia asks one final question. Why do the Phoenix kill their own? But Esther says they don't. So Julia shows her Mercury's helmet. Esther explains it was an assassin they encountered from years ago. Julia reveals this assassin was a cybrid and has been subcontracting for the Alaxians, but wants to know who the client is. Esther then mentions the bodies of the raiders they killed that day of the surprise raid bore tattoos, both Blood Eagles and Alaxian. They both know someone didn't want Daniel and Victoria to succeed in bringing peace between the Phoenix and the Imperials. If you're wondering who are these Alaxians, I'm just as confused as you are because I have no idea. This is brand new information and they just make it sound like we just know who these people are. Let me know in the comments if you guys know more about these Alaxians. Julia says she knows an Alaxian that could help her, but Esther offers help from the Phoenix tribe.
I can take care of this alone.
Maybe. But being part of the Phoenix means that you don't have to.
As Phoenix soldiers load up in Julia's ship, she tries contacting Albrecht. He says Blood Eagles have attacked the Imperial Palace and taken hostages, including Olivia, to the planet Celis 3. Esther doesn't like the idea of spending Phoenix lives to save an Imperial regent, but Julia won't abandon her family. It's back to using the jump tank again. You have a second gunner this time, and can always jump out to repair if needed. Follow the linear path and take out or run over all the Blood Eagles you find. Blow up all the gates and turrets you see, until you get to the main base. Take out all the enemies and make your way inside. Albrecht contacts you, but strangely you can't see his face. He says to use his access code to get through the security system to locate Olivia. Input the codes and you'll get Olivia's position. Julia tells this to Esther, but she reports heavy resistance on the surface. Then an alarm goes off inside the base and you get reinforcements to deal with. Julia then tells Albrecht his access code set off the alarm. He apologizes, but says he's got access to the Blood Eagle security system now. Then tells Julia the corridor should be clear of enemies, so proceed to the bunker entrance. As you make your way down the corridor, you get attacked by Blood Eagles. The door opens very slowly, so you'll need to fight for a bit. She tells Albrecht she thought he said the corridor should be clear, But again, Albrecht apologizes and tells her to continue on to the bunker. When you get inside, you'll come across Imperials.
Imperials, listen. I need some assistance here.
Keep your lies, traitor. We have our orders from Albrecht himself.
What? What orders?
Open fire!
Julia then realizes this was a trap, and there was no attack on the palace. She asks how long Albrecht has been playing both sides. He responds with the Imperials were supposed to arrest her and asks her nicely to put her weapons down.
Sorry, Julie girl. I was never part of any family.
It's you.
Your statement is tautological.
So continue on through the base, taking out both Blood Eagles and Imperials. Albrecht will continue speaking to you, but nothing important, until you get to the end of the mission to fight him.
I am confident I can kill you.
Too bad he was easy to fight, despite claiming he's confident in killing Julia. Overall, it was an okay linear mission. At this point, nothing new is being added, you're just playing to see how all of this will end. Then we get a cutscene of Julia walking into a new room and finding Olivia. She first talks about when she saw Daniel and her father Tiberius shaking hands, she thought this would lead to the end of the Empire. She had Albrecht stage a raid on the Phoenix base in Imperial armor. She goes on to say war is what keeps the Empire going. She wasn't going to let her sister and Daniel ruin everything the Empire has achieved. Julia asks what her next plan is, but Olivia isn't a stupid villain to reveal her true plans. Only her and Seti know.
And Albrecht.
But poor Albrecht isn't talking.
Is it time?
Good night, child.
But luckily the Phoenix tribe arrived just in time to save Julia. They tell her to get out, but she quickly grabs Albrecht's head and jetpacks away with it. Unfortunately, the Phoenix soldiers don't make it out.
Go! Go!
This next cutscene gets awkward.
Why do you think Rachel saved you?
Her life is worth 10 of mine. All I've ever lived or known is a lie.
Then face this truth.
Albrecht is talking about some kind of material that can be used as a deadly gas. Olivia asks what would happen if a light tanker full of this gas were to crash into the Imperial Palace. Albrecht estimates 20,000 from the impact, and then maybe 100,000 or so afterwards, and their death would be slow and painful.
I see. And what about a heavy tanker?
So, we finally get to the last mission in Tribe's Vengeance. Esther says Olivia's ship is preparing to launch. It's too high to jetpack up to, so Julia will need to go and take out 3 generators powering the energy barrier, and then use an elevator to get to the ship. This one is pretty fun. You have a small inventory station to decide what weapons and equipment to use. I like this open world feel. I mean, it's not that big, but you'll sometimes need to fly back to your ship for health and ammo. I prefer taking out the turrets with the sniper and slowly making my way into each bunker with the generator. Seti will taunt Julia after the first generator is destroyed.
Did it hurt to find out you're a half-breed? Please tell me yes. Did it feel like being ripped in half?
Then Olivia for the second one.
Is this worth it, Julia? You were an Imperial once.
No, Olivia. I was a lie. Your lie.
The third one I think is our motivation for why Olivia is doing all this.
What a clever child. Been digging around in Albrecht's head, have you?
How many more innocents have to die, Olivia?
There are no innocents, Julia. Only the powerful and the weak. One feeds on the other. Victory and defeat are but political fictions determined by the Empire.
Don't you mean by you?
One and the same.
Eventually we get to the final base with the elevator and take out all the turrets and soldiers in the area. It was tough to snipe because there is this fog in the distance, so of course enemies can see you through the fog, but you can't see them. Get to the elevator and hit the switch for the final boss fight with Seti. He mentions what we just did is something her father would do.
I'm kinda busy now. Would you mind if I killed you later?
No way in, no way out.
You just need to kill Seti to win, but you have turrets and other soldiers shooting at you. So just be extra careful to do your best and dodge and shoot Seti until he dies before you do.
The override.
Julia confronts Olivia, who turns around with a gun, and then says just like her mother. Gosh, everyone says she's just like her parents. Anyway, Olivia says Julia's corpse on this ship when it crashes on the Imperial Palace will tell them she was behind this attack.
And how do you see that happening? Like this.
Olivia gets away, but Julia sets the ship to explode. She begins riding the debris back down to the planet and crashes.
Julia, come in! I'm alright. Olivia got away. I can't believe I let her go.
You stopped her, Julia. Your father would have been proud.
Would he?
Yes. It would be my honor to tell you about him.
I'd like that. Do you think someone could come pick me up? I'd like to go home.
We then get one last cutscene of Victoria and Daniel. Daniel says he can feel the baby moving inside, then talks about how worried he is about her father not liking him, and how all of this is going to blow up in their face. Victoria gives one last bit of advice.
No, we don't know if he will, but if he doesn't, time is a funny thing. No matter what happens, eventually, somehow, we'll find a way to make it right.
Yep, that's it. Quite a cliffhanger. We don't know what happened to Olivia or Julia, and what any of this means for the rest of the tribe's universe. I couldn't find anything on any sequel planned for the story. In only a year, Vivendi Games said they stopped all support for the game. According to Eurogamer, Ken Levine was a writer for the game, and he said, quote, "This falling out with VUG is some kind of Jedi mind trick, man. We just finished an expansion pack for them, and it went as smooth as cream cheese. With Tribes, we did a patch, and for whatever reason, they decided not to release it." End quote. Only information I could find was an old GameSpot article from 2005 that thinks it was because of poor sales why Vivendi decided to stop supporting the game. It sold about 43,000 units, which isn't that much compared to other big titles. In conclusion, Tribes Vengeance is still a fun game. I haven't played any other sort of game like it. This truly is a unique type of game that should have a good amount of players playing it. I think a reboot to this game would see a lot of gamers coming back to it. If Hi-rez fixed the issues the community was talking about and added more content, I'm sure the game would still be popular today. There's got to be some loyal fans out there with private servers to join on certain days at specific times. As it stands, I recommend you guys trying out this game and playing through the story. The Stockholm Syndrome love story is alright, but I wish we had a bit more information on the lore. Like, how big is the Empire, and what territories does it have compared to the tribes? Plus, there should be many more tribes, but they never mention any of them. Oh well, I still like to play this game every once in a while, and I hope you guys like it too. Next month we will be concluding a trilogy that I started 2 years ago. You already know if you've been watching all my retrospectives from the very beginning. See you there. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe to help grow my channel, and comment below on what you thought. Also check out my other weekly videos. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video.